Hey everyone, I'm back. I'm Micah with the Norton Art Gallery, and today I wanted to share with y'all a strategy that we use at the Norton Art Gallery in order for us to better understand some of the images or objects that we are looking at. Today we're going to be looking at an image by Remington called Blandy, but these are just a few steps to kind of go along with your kids, or if you go into an art museum, to help them better understand and have a discussion with them about the piece of art that they're looking at, or even an object. So I'm going to put up on the screen Blandy. And as you're looking at this image, the first step that we're going to ask is a very simple question of what do we see? So what we want to do here is just make a few observations about the image or the object that you might be observing. With the kids, I like to play the game of, I spy with my eye, or I might even set a number of objects that I like them to talk about and see if they can find. So for this particular image, I'll give you an example. I spy with my eye a white horse. And so in this case, what I'm looking for are physical objects, or objects that could be touched if you were there. The things that you can ask the kids to take notice of are colors, shapes, size of things, how many or a quantity, and maybe the location of something. So of course, we might say that I see a horse. I might say I see a large hill or a mountain. And of course, you can keep going on and on. And so I'll give you a little while for you to look at the image, or if you'd like to pause the video right here and look at the image and come up with a few objects that you see. Well, step two is now where we're going to get into a little bit of the creative side. So now that we've looked at the image, and so when you walk into a museum, what we see a lot of times is that people walk in and then kind of walk out and say, I don't know what I'm doing here or what I am supposed to do in an art museum. And a lot of times they say they've looked at it, but when you ask them some simple questions like, well, what did you see? They can't tell you anything. And so that tells me that we haven't actually made any observation about what we're looking at. What we've done is just kind of walked in, looked around, but didn't actually spend any time seeing with our eyes and making any actual observations of it and trying to make any connections. So step two, what we ask is, what's happening in the image? And this is where I want you to use your imagination and go through making inferences. For instance, I see a cowboy about to be kicked off of a horse. Or I might say I see people that are watching somebody play a game of horseback. In this particular case, there's no right or wrong to any of these answers. So again, I'm going to give you a couple of a minute or so if you want to pause the video and look at the image and see what you might see that's happening in this image. All right, step three. And step three is where we kind of go with not just making an inference or using our creativity and imagination to kind of say what's going on. What we want to do with step three is ask, what did you see that made you say that? So in this case, it's citing evidence. So in the case of I see somebody riding a horse and I think it's a cowboy, why would I say that it's a cowboy? Well, I think it's a cowboy because cowboys ride horses and cowboys wear those types of hats. Why would I say that in the background is a mountain? Well, I'll say it's a mountain because I see that it is taller than the horses and the people. So again, whatever they ask or say that is their inference or what they've come up with about what they think is happening, we want to ask them, it's like, well, what connection did you make? What evidence do you have that might support your statement? This is similar to using some of the sentence stems of when I see blank, I think of, or even using because I see blank, it makes me believe this. So go ahead and if you like, stop, go back to what did you see that was happening and see if they can provide a connection or some evidence that might help support their statement. All right, step 4 is where we kind of repeat that process. Do we see anything else that's happening? So we want to repeat steps 2 and 3. And then of course we're looking for details that we might have missed that might have changed what we think was going on. Of course it might not have changed if you've looked at a lot of the different pieces from our step 1 and kind of got a good overview of the image. But this is where we just kind of repeat that process. What else do we think is going on? What more might be happening? And just seeing if we can look at small pieces in the background or maybe even look at the whole picture. So step 5 is where we take it to the next level, and that's basically us asking, so is there a story with this image? We've talked about what's going on, but are we looking at this in terms of a complete story that we could tell with a character, what's the setting, what might be the problem that might occur in the story, who are the main characters, the supporting characters, and so forth. We at the R.W. Norton Art Gallery look at art as a visual medium through which the artist is trying to communicate with us. And so what we try to do is make it easier for us as the viewer to make a connection and hopefully make sense of what we are looking at. This is a great strategy to use if you're working with your kids on any science projects, any math or reading. This is using our visual acuity in order to look at the image and see if we can make any better connections and try to tell what is going on. Thank you for joining me.